around 14, I started drinking, and I had instantly a bad reaction to alcohol. From the start of me drinking, and that gradually got worse and worse to the point that it was affecting my home life. My mum was already under a lot of stress. She was going through her own problems, and bringing up 4 boys in a low income family, in the north of England is not easy anyway.
Yeah.
And it got to the point where I dropped out of school, and my mum was sort of forced to make me leave the house, basically, because she had 3 other boys to think of as well. It wasn't just me. So I moved into a hostel when I was 15, and I didn't go to school. I was going to, it's like a work placement, they'd call it. Usually what you do is 3 days at the work placement, 2 days at school, but I didn't do the school part. And then eventually I got kicked out of the hostel through drink-related incidences, and I was homeless. And then sort of spent some time. I had this very difficult time, which I don't know if I just suppress it a little bit now. I have certain images of certain things happening, but I don't really remember all of it. Anyway, after sleeping rough for a few months, my granddad ended up giving me the opportunity to move to Wolverhampton with him. And I remember it was like my 16th birthday. He'd come pick me up, and I was sleeping under this underpass with all my stuff in a bag. And that was sort of like a new opportunity for me then. But I think it's important now for me to look back and think what I was putting my mum through as well, and the rest of my brothers, because at the time I was just blaming my mum. I was blaming everyone else, but I didn't really understand what I was putting her through at the time. Me and my mum and my whole family are really close now. Anyway, so I went to Wolverhampton, and I was 16 in a city for the first time, and that was scary because I was from Macclesfield, where I thought I was a bit of a boy. And then I go to Wolverhampton, which is quite a rough city as well, and that was definitely a culture shock for me. And I sort of spent 2 years just not really understanding what to do. I didn't know who I was, what I wanted to be, trying to find new friends at the same time. And my nan and granddad as well, bless them, they were really old. So, they sort of taken me on, this nightmare child in their 80s.
Wow.
Yeah. I mean, I'm so thankful for them. They're both passed now, but my granddad he was like my father figure at the time. But it wasn't as easy as me just instantly changing. I still put them both through a lot of drama as well. Not as much as my mum, but, still a considerable amount for their age. And eventually I was trying a few things, and I found fitness. I went to, it was a Thai boxing class actually. And I went, I can't remember how it come about, but I ended up attending one. I absolutely loved it. And I spent, a lot of time then focusing on the fitness element. And then that's when I realized, okay, this is something that I actually enjoy. This is something that gives me a little bit of purpose. I could see a future in the fitness space. So I qualified as a PT, and then I spent, I think maybe 2 years working as a personal trainer. A lot of my alcohol use at this point had sort of, had gone down because I had that purpose, and I absolutely loved it. And then when I was 20, I joined the military. Now, people always laugh at that because when I was a kid, I think even my mum said when I joined the military, she bumped into like a couple of my old primary school teachers, and they couldn't believe it because I hated anyone telling me what to do. Wow. I hated discipline. I hated, the thought of having to stand to attention and listen to someone tell me that I'm in the wrong. But for some reason, I think it's because my dad was in the military, and I remember when I was like 2 or 3 playing with like his army fatigue, all his gear, that just somehow resonated with me. So I joined the RAF regiment, which is like the infantry for the RAF. I was thinking either paras or just normal regular army. And then someone told me about the RAF regiment, and I thought, you know what, that sounds good. So I joined. I spent 4 years there.
Wow.
And for some reason, like even with basic training, I really didn't know what to expect, but I thrived in that situation, which again was just, it always seems so strange that I went from that transition of just no structure at all, no discipline, to going into basic training and being one of the top recruits there. I just absolutely loved it. And I did Afghanistan. So in 2010, I went to Afghanistan. And then when I got back, I sort of realized that that's all I wanted to do, 4 years, serve my country and go back into the fitness industry, but this time with the military experience behind me. And this is at a time where there was no online training, it was all on the floor PT stuff. So I left the RF regiment and I went back into the fitness industry then. And I loved it. It was great. I come out of the military. I always said that I wasn't institutionalized into, the military figure. But when I got out, I realized how much I had developed as a man, how much I had grown as an individual, especially with my ability to do hard things and to just be disciplined.